We cover the latest topics and trends making waves across the sport and chat with our industry's most prominent leaders, so your golf business stays one step ahead. Welcome to Golf Business Live, powered by Club Caddy. Here's NGCOA CEO Jay Karen and owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club and Vice President of the PGA of America, Don Ray.
Hey. Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone, wherever you are in the U.S. Welcome to the August 2024 episode of Golf Business Live, coming to you live since the spring of 2020, powered by friends at Club Caddy. This is going to be a Club Caddy forward show today, Don. This is a show where we discuss happenings on the trade side of the golf business. I'm Jay Karen, CEO of the National Golf Course Owners Association, the ham to my egg, Don Ray, owner of Augusta Ranch and Vice President of the PGA of America. Everybody tune in on YouTube, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, your channel of choice, and we invite your comments, and we will cherry pick the ones that we can get to. Don, I just got off the road. I was 2 weeks in California, home for 4 days, then 5 nights in Cleveland and 2 nights in Atlanta. I feel like you right now. My goodness, I don't know how you do it. How are you?
I'm doing great. I've been watching your travels. I hope everybody follows you on LinkedIn because whether it's articles you write, which I think are amazing, or seeing where your travels are, I think it's awesome that a golf guy is at the ASAE. I mean, you're basically leading it. I see you up there and I'm like, all right, dude. It's the gospel of golf, right? Let's spread it. That's the great commission on the golf industry side, is we have to go out and spread the word that we are doing amazing things. Everything's going good and I'm happy to be home. I was at the HQ of the PGA of America, which I call the home quarters of the PGA of America. And now I'm at the home of my house. So I'm at HQ, the home of Don Ray. And that's where I'm broadcasting live from. A little internet problems early. We'll see how it rolls. But I'm looking forward to the show today. Obviously, what we're going to talk about today with Club Caddy and how they're handling it, I think, is every operator should be watching today, I hope.
Well, good. Yeah. So, look forward to bringing Jason on here in a few minutes. I like to post my travels on LinkedIn for sure. And tell you, I was just in the time I was in California was great. I was in Napa for the U.S. Travel Association Board of Directors meeting to make sure that golf is represented, certainly in that room. And it's great. And then we had MCOR in Monterey not long after there. And I'll get into that in a minute. Some of what I thought were some of the best takeaways from some of the conversations there I want to bring up. But I was just in Cleveland at the ASAE. For those of you at home, ASAE is the American Society of Association Executives. The Association for People Who Run Associations. Yes. And it was over 5,000 of us there in Cleveland. And and I just got elected as vice chair of the board, or we call it the chair-elect position. And I like to tell people in the golf industry, I am what Don Ray is to PGA professionals. Cool. I have the privilege of being to association executives, and that is the kind of the vice president of the board of directors over the association that's trying to make things happen. So there we are on stage, all the inductees of the ASA board of directors. And it was a great event, and I did get to be a preacher for golf, which I have to do. There's an association for everything in that room, and I get to be the golf guy. Although I will say that Golf Course Superintendents Association of America have been sending staff to this over the many years. Steve Mona was very involved on the board of directors of ASA moons ago. But so there are a couple golf folks represented, but you can see maybe the next picture, I got a golf club in my hand as I was talking about the foundation of ASA and what we're going to be doing with that. But I definitely, so once I had that golf club in my hand, Don, the rest of the convention, people were coming up to me, talking to me about golf and all of this. And it was a great commercial, certainly for our great game. And I was able to announce that there's a golf tournament we used to run through ASA, charitable golf tournament for our foundation, that is coming back in 2025 after like a 6-year absence. And I was on the winning team like 5 years in a row, and they actually broke up my team, many years ago, which is, kind of fun to be told, all right, enough guys. But yeah, so that was a great event. And so I'm kind of honored to be able to do that for the association profession, as you get to do it for PGA members.
Yeah, I got two comments. One, I'd love to be on that or be a fly on the wall of that boardroom. So you've got a whole bunch of people that complain about their boards all the time because they're hard to deal with, and now they're a board of their own that you are presiding over. Hilarious. I'd
It's
love
like
to
some
see.
metaverse. I don't know. It's like some weird spiral.
There is definitely, I tell our board members on the PGA board all the time, it's like, let's be the board member you'd like to work for, right? I mean, no PGA member who works at a private club who has to deal with that board wants them up in their business, right? I mean, hey, you hired me to do the job. Let me do the job. And so I think it's great. And I'm glad you're spreading the gospel. It's funny of golf. I just did an interview with PGA Magazine because I sit on the Arizona Lodging and Tourism Association. And I think maybe there's some golf pros out there, men and women, got a little imposter syndrome, thinking like, how could I even have a voice on some state tourism board? But you are a voice. You're a constituent. You're a defender of the game of golf. Like, if you truly believe in the game of golf, why wouldn't you be telling everybody about it? Do you believe it's the antidote for things? Does it bring families together? Is it good for your fitness, mental and physical? If it is, then why wouldn't you talk about it all the time? So, like, I know you enjoy it as much as I do because people love to talk about golf. And that's why it always surprises me, Jay, that 8 to 9% of the population plays golf. You're telling me 91 out of 100 Americans don't play golf. And yet when you put that golf club in front, they all go, ooh, maybe I should start playing. Maybe I should go to Top Golf. So I think it's good. I keep doing it. We got to keep doing it.
Yeah. And that at our board table at ASA, it's great. We have the American Psychological Association CEO, the CEO of the League of Cities, mayors and city councils. Our new chair, Heidi Brock, is the CEO of the American Forest and Paper Association. Our new secretary is over pediatric nurses. It's just like this amazing group of people. Anytime I step into a room at ASAE, and I think everybody feels this way, we don't feel like the smartest in the room, but it's the room you want to be in. And so everybody around you is so super impressive and thoughtful. And they're representing entire sectors and industries. So you can imagine how fruitful and productive the conversations and the friendships are at this particular table. So I've been part of this organization for 25 years and proud to be able to do this at this level. So yeah. But let me use your cheerleading golf statement there and transition to MCOR, the multi-course owner in resort operator retreat we just had in Monterey. And I want to start off by talking about John Kasich, who was our keynote or my Q&A guest. And, and I'm going to use that golf theme again, because, we had a call with John about a month before the event to kind of get prepared for it. And that's when the light bulb went on, when he was like, oh, wait a second, this is the golf industry. Okay, I get what this is. I get who's going to be there. Oh, I am excited, because he's a golfer. So he's got this excitement about it. When he got there, he spent 3 days with us, and I had 3 dinners with him. We played golf together. And what I was able to tell him and share with him was the fact that, and he's a good golfer, by the way, he's really 72, and he cleaned my clock on the back 9 of Spyglass. He shot 44 in the front, so we had a little wager on the back, and he shot 37. It was unbelievable. But what I told him, and I want this to be a lesson for my kids and anybody kind of watching, or anybody, kids, adults, whoever, about thinking about getting into the game at all, or even more seriously and getting better at it, is in those 4.5 hours that you're on a golf course, where I've had the privilege of playing with governors, senators, CEOs of corporations, whatever it might be. In those 4 hours, the playing field has been leveled in so many ways, because we're all facing humility and possible humility for the next 4.5 hours. A missed shot, something that goes here, there, whatever, and it kind of brings us back to this kind of shared humanity a little bit. Like, I don't care if you're a U.S. senator, if you just top the ball, it changes the dynamic, Don. And so what I've found is, now I happen to be on the better side of the bell curve of players, right? Amateur players or whatever. And so in those moments, not only does it level the playing field, but if I'm the better golfer in those 4.5 hours with Senator Roy Blunt, let's say from Missouri, who I've played a couple times with, it's almost like, I'm not saying it's Roy and that this is the case with Roy, but it's almost like I have the upper hand for about 4.5 hours. Because in those moments, when it comes to the context of golf, and I'm the better golfer, I'm getting shot euphoria more often, they would rather be me in those moments. Like, they're coveting what I can do, Whereas in any other context, if we had dinner together, it's like, yes, yes, Senator so-and-so. It's like they've got the power in those moments. And so golf can be used as a tool as far as it breaks down the ego in these moments where you can just relax and get to know people and share in this. And I'm going to tell you, Don, what I told John was I challenged him. I said, tell me anything else in society, in the human shared experiences that does this like golf. And nothing does. Yes, you can break bread with someone, but the dynamic is established before you walk in there, and the dynamic might stay there for a little while, right? Like, this is the governor, I'm so-and-so. On that golf course, strip those titles away, because who can get out of that sand trap, and can you get out of that sand trap and all of that? So anyway, it's just another reason why golf is so good, because it breaks things down, and you can then connect authentically with people and talk business and personal in the same, walk or the same golf cart for the next 4 hours. So I don't know. Is that a good enough commercial for golf, Don?
Hey, you're preaching to the choir, my friend. Bowling might be the only other thing that I think you can do with a bunch of people, but that's what, I believe with Topgolf, Top Tracer driving range is that funnel to success, right? The funnel to the forever golfer. That's what we've created. That's what's been created, and whether it's in range or TrackMan, I think it's awesome, because once again, what it's like to play golf, but somebody might be a little intimidated to go to a golf course. So I think it's incumbent on every golfer to get somebody the power of invitation, not welcoming, inviting, to say, hey, why don't we go to Topgolf and have a good time? And then, you're a decent golfer. You change their grip a little bit. They start getting it airborne. And then you're like, hey, let's go to, one of my favorite golf courses, Augusta Ranch. And they've got the same thing there, Top Tracer. It's kind of cool. Let's do that. And then maybe we'll putt. Putting is really fun. We'll play a little game. And then all of a sudden, I'm leading them in. And then they're like, man, how did I do without golf in my life? Because it's brought me closer to my daughter, my wife, my son, my friends. I'm with you. But if it just stays on this podcast, we have failed. We have to be disciples of this, And so I got 31,000 men and women love this darn game, right? That's our slogan. We love this game. We got to share this love, because we know it is the cure for a lot of things.
All right. We just found our soundbite, Taylor and Harry. Let's use that in social here. Let's get that word out. All right. So I want to talk a little bit more about MCORG. Like I mentioned, John was an awesome guest, especially in this election year, to be able to kind of listen to him talk about reaching across the aisle in our common humanity versus what separates us. And it was great, really great message. There were a couple other takeaways I wanted to pick your brain about. One of them, you were very involved in. One of the McKinsey consultants talked about just trends in consumer behavior and all these things, and how social commerce, is what she called it, is just been on the rise, where you're scrolling through Instagram and you get that, those ads, and people make those impromptu buys or whatever it might be, that the purchasing through social channels has been skyrocketing. And I too have bought things. Oh man, yeah, they got me. Okay, I'm going to get those. My wife more than me for sure. I tell you what, we should be in the corrugated paper business, because all the cardboard boxes that are been going around America, that's where we should be investing. Amen. But so I started thinking about golf, and I asked this question in the room, and I didn't get a really great answer, except for maybe what I thought was the obvious answer. What do you sell in a social channel for golf, right? Because it's more than likely going to be an impromptu impulse buy. And you're not going to make a tee time on an impulse if you've, never been in the game, or whatever, you're curious, or maybe you've been kicking the tires. You're not going to book a tee time in an impulse, because it requires, when can I play and all of that, who's going to play with me. But gift cards can be an impulse buy, right? Like, go ahead and buy the lessons, buy the 4-pack of lessons, and you were in the gift card business, right? Or go ahead and buy whatever it is. Is there anything else that you can think of in the golf ecosystem that involve golf courses, because that's who I represent, where someone can make an impulse buy on a social channel? Because if that's where the puck is, we should be selling the hell out of whatever we have there, right? So golf should be found there. So besides a gift card for whether it's lessons or, a future round of golf, can you think of anything else that makes sense for a social commerce buy in golf?
Wow. As the incoming president, I might have to start a committee on that. I got to get a task force of how do you create that. I think it certainly starts with not showing a picture of an empty golf course. when I see a lot of social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or wherever, it's always like, look how beautiful our golf course is. That attracts some people, but mainly golfers who go, man, that's a course I want to play someday. So how do you get somebody who's a non-golfer? Mom is scrolling. Mom is scrolling. What does she want to buy? She wants to buy time with her family. She wants to. She's missing out on the childhood of their kids. Her husband works too much. She wants to spend more time with him. So whatever the message is, to me, it's smiling faces. It's generational high fives. It's a baby in a carriage and a track and a top tracer or Top Golf Bay. I think I want to slow them down for a second, right? So pictures of people having fun. They've been doing that in the hospitality industry forever. The only reason you show an empty room is to decide which room you want. But at the end of the day, they don't show an empty pool. They don't show that. They don't show an empty bar. They show people having fun. Hey, come to our hotel. Golf, I don't know why we're not doing this, Jay. When Katie was looking at colleges and she was looking at the Instagram pages of the colleges she wanted to go to, she was looking at the softball pages. She was looking, does this look like a fun place? Certainly one picture of the campus of Bowdoin is awesome. But does she see people that she can relate to that look like her, have the same ambitions as her? Is that where she wants to go? So we have to tie that in and understand, what Susie Whaley was talking about and Donna Orender were talking about a long time ago. The buying power of women is where it's at. And we're not leveraging that because our social media feeds are driven towards men who typically just want to make everybody happy. And so they'll say yes to anything, but don't really initiate anything. And we do need to initiate, but we got to do that.
I'm going to give this, this idea is going to be for Jason, when he comes on a little bit later, because it's oftentimes the golf management software companies that have, where you go to purchase something at the golf course, right? Tee time, whatever. How can we create more in a shopping cart kind of situation that a golf course can put into the social channel? Come, buy this, buy time with your family, buy a pack of lessons or whatever it might be. Like I want a golf course to be able to have a product to put into that space, because we're missing the moment if we're not selling something, because look at how freaking cool golf is in the social space. The funniest content out there, all these YouTube, and TikTok folks that are just out there putting crazy golf content out there that is beloved by hundreds of thousands and millions, and we're not selling anything. Okay, like at least from what I can see, except for apparel. Apparel is the only golf stuff. Apparel and swing aids. Those are the only two things that get into my algorithm. And I'm a golfer, so I'm stopping on these videos, whatever. Swing aids and apparel. That's it. And that's not enough for getting people excited about the game. So I'm gonna plant that seed for Jason here down the road. Another thing that was mentioned at MCore was, screw it. Get Jason on now. Bring him on now, because I want his opinion on some of these things too. All right.
What do you take charge? Wait, look at Jay Karen. All of a sudden you run the ASAE and you're directing the whole show now. Okay, Jay, whatever you want to do. There he is. Look at him running the show with his golf club.
All right, let me back up. Jason Pearsall, a CEO of Club Caddy, and owner of Warren Valley golf course outside of Detroit. I'm going to dispense with all the awesome former lawyer and all of the, you are the all-around athlete of our industry, as I see it, Jason, and you've been a great friend to NGCOA, and, welcome to the show that you've been sponsoring now for a good while, which we thank you for. But man, we got a lot going on, and I want to go ahead and bring you in because, we don't actually have a golf course operator on this show very often. If you think about it, Don, we have them on some of our other Golf Business Live shows like Tech Talk and some of the others. We've got them going on, but on our show, you're the first in a while, Jason. So welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Jay. I am 5'6" with a 6-inch vertical, so I haven't been called an athlete very many times. I appreciate that more than you know.
You got it. You got to be a great point guard.
I want to see the top of your refrigerator. How dirty is the top of your refrigerator? Because you need to go clean that, because you haven't seen that lately.
I think that's a height joke. Okay. All right.
And that was a height joke.
Well, okay. So, Jason, we're going to jump right in. Okay. And we'll get to some of these tech issues that I definitely want to talk about. But I want your opinions on a couple of these things. Why don't we just go and start before we move to the next topic with that social commerce opportunity that I'm just realizing after that MCore meeting, listen to McKinsey talk about it. Are we missing the moment for commerce? There she is at the golf course level. Not just apparel and swing aids, but if I'm Don Ray, Augusta Ranch, what could I be selling in the social channels right now?
Yeah, so the technology exists. It's not a technology problem, but operators have to deploy it. And the primary thing that we see top operators doing is they sell events. So if you have a clinic, and you're trying to get registrations for it, if you have a wine night that night or a couple's dinner, in your restaurant, then the night of that event and maybe for 3 days before it, there's a link. That's all you need is a registration link for those types of things. And if they're linked to your ads, then, the ad, the call to action is to go to that link and actually register or book for it. So, that to me is the biggest opportunity, is actually selling events. You can sell punch cards, you can sell membership passes, you can sell gift cards, and there's also a lot of courses that are using technology like T-Commerce, who I think is also an NGCA partner and sponsor. We use them here at Warren Valley, where, people can just buy our apparel online on demand from them. They ship and fulfill it with no work on our part, and we're just getting a check every month from them, right? So our view, as operators and also at Club Caddy, is that if you sell it in your golf course, you need to be able to sell it online. That even includes things like the ability, believe it or not, people are on their social channels while they're playing golf at your course. If nothing else, just taking pictures. So if they see an ad that's geo-targeted to their location to order food and beverage at your course right then and there and pick up at the turn, like, there should be an app to do that. And these are apps that exist in Club Caddy, but also exist in most of our competitor systems too. It just, not every operator is taking advantage of them.
All right, good stuff. I think we should content the heck out of this, Don, together, where how do you actually sell your stuff on social? I don't want golf course owners and operators to think, oh man, now I got to become a TikTok star. It's not about, I mean, if you want to go down that path, man, there are so many ways to win in that. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to sell your stuff based on the activity happening, there's a way to do that too, and not necessarily have to be the TikTok star yourself. And so I think we need to content the heck out of this, because we're missing the moment, I think, to bring some of that economy to the golf course level. So let's look at that. The other thing that she mentioned about kind of they started showing some signs of, or, that the economy is softening. Okay. So consumers are starting to, what she said, trade down, not necessarily give up quality, but maybe, in the case of golf, the only trading down thing I could think of was going from 18 to 9 holes. Let's just say, right? Okay, if it's an economic decision. Right now, if most of the operators I talk to in the room, the large guys, are just kind of like, things are still going really well. Like, the activity levels are still very high, revenue price is still where we want it to be, and all of these things. So in anticipation of, let's just say, the middle class golfer, or the budget golfer trading down a little bit, if that's going to be coming, is 9 holes. What else besides just making sure you're advertising a 9-hole package? Because a lot of golf courses I've found over the years don't straight up advertise their 9-hole package because they feel like they're leaving something on the table. Is there anything, Don and Jason, as golf course operators, you feel like you would put out proudly and not hide as much as a trading down option if this starts happening, if we start seeing this softening?
Well, I think, obviously time is getting more critical. I mean, a lot of companies are now 3 days a week, 4 days a week, maybe 4.5 days a week. And so this luxury that we had, everybody was playing golf because they could work from home for a while. I think that is going away a little bit. So trading down, I mean, I do want to make the point that I don't think it's trading down in price. I mean, you should be dynamically pricing your tee sheet. You can't lower your price to create demand. It's inelastic demand. There's plenty of podcasts on it. Google them. What I think when you do talk just a little bit on that past thing is the Allison George has a multitude of podcasts out there and events and webinars she's done for you to talk about how to utilize your social media. But on the trading down thing, certainly time is the way to do it, right? I mean, is your back 9 open in the morning for someone who wants to play 9 holes before they go to work and use that as their fitness routine? Everybody drives to the gym and walks on the treadmill for 45 minutes. How about you go play out there at Augusta Ranch or some short course or even a long course? Does it matter? You don't have to play 9 holes. You could play 7. You could play 9, 10. You could play 12. I mean, if you have an annual pass at that facility, which most of them do, and I think a lot of golf courses should really look at this back 9 before they open. This isn't new information. It's just I think we got away from it a little bit because we've been so darn busy right now. Let's not make the same mistake that we did before. A lot of these customers came in with Tiger Woods. A lot of these customers have come in because of COVID. retention's going to be the key. Heck, I just posted about it on LinkedIn this morning before this show, is that customer acquisition and creation has happened. But the retention side of this and understanding that they are going to have to trade down because of time or resources, because of inflation, the pending election for the president of the United States, but provide them opportunities. You're always going to have time-sensitive people and price-sensitive people, and just make sure you have a product for them. So I'm with you. I'm not going to trade down price. Don't need to do that. But I am going to trade down time and show them that if they come out half hour before sunset, they could play a 4-hole loop at Augusta Ranch and still get some of that quality time they're looking for, or that workout that they missed. Walking is good.
Jason, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, the whole concept of trading down is you're trying to create an incentive for the customer to come, right? And I think that we need to, especially today where we do have highly utilized tee sheets, we need to be looking at how do we create incentives that don't come out of our pockets or don't, require us to take less cash. And what we're really finding is, people are a lot more concerned about their experience and maybe even willing to pay more for the experience. So the question becomes, how do we get them to trade up, right? How are we getting them to come and pay more than they otherwise would? And so if it's, have the pro's going to be out on the course and he's going to be, going to each group and giving them tips and lessons and it's an extra $10, or it is, a couples themed night. At the end of the night, we do a blind draw of 2 couples and, trying to make it more fun and maybe charging more to do those things. But I think the way that we look at creating incentives has to change. Well, at least we have these highly utilized tee sheets, and we need to be trying to find better experiences that we can charge more for. And to Don's point earlier, right, you don't want to, I was watching the show last month, and you're talking about how much more your OpEx has gone up since you brought the top tracers out, right? And so we have to be careful to not significantly increase our OpEx. We've got to do it in a profitable way, which means we're charging a little bit more. But I think that's the key. How do we get them to trade up, to spend more, and like Don also said, get them to come back because they had such a great time that it wasn't just another round of golf.
Yeah, it makes me thinking, Don, when you're talking about like your morning workout or what have you, just thinking about my speed golf experience. I've done it once, and there's an opportunity here. You obviously have to carve out the time to do this, whether it's on the back 9 first thing, and the superintendents, you got to work with them on all this because they don't want runners out there while they're trying, whatever it is, we can figure this out. But I played 9 holes in 29 minutes, right? And it was fun as hell. I did it by myself, certainly. So that kept that pace going, but I've never played it with a group of people, but I know it's a thing, that Scott Dawson and others have built this speed golf kind of small culture within golf. I'd love to see more golf courses embrace that as like, okay, you know what, I am going to work out that instead of going to the park and paying my $50 or my $30 today to be part of this group doing some stretching and yoga, let me spend my $30 over here and do a speed golf 9-hole thing, which sounds fun as hell. And what I think there's something there we need to embrace that I'd like to see happening on weekdays, weekends at golf courses, because it's that trading down of time. I don't have 4 hours, I don't even have 2 hours to play, but if you can play in 45 minutes or less and have a hell of a good time, running a couple of miles on a 9-hole track, I think that'd be a lot of fun. Let me move on to a couple other things here real quick about MCore that I pulled away. One was this. Oh, there we go. That was my. I know it says 30 minutes and 2 seconds, but it was actually 29 minutes and 59 seconds that I finished. By the time the Apple Watch, I got it anyway. So the urbanization of secondary cities is something our guest from McKinsey talked about, like cities with under 1 million people. And that's where people are going to, like they're leaving the big cities and going to these smaller cities, and that's great. And I'm starting to think, okay, a 50-year outlook, what does that mean for golf? Okay, you would think the golf courses that are in proximity to these secondary cities, then we'll see kind of greater activity because the populace is moving in that direction. Okay, that's a good thing, right? So like Don, Phoenix is a big city, right? But let's just say you're outside of Austin, or you're outside of Columbus, Ohio, or whatever it might be. So you're thinking, okay, the people are moving my way. But the other side of that double-edged sword seems to be from a 50-year outlook to me, and I'm talking more and more about this, is then, if you're the golf course 20 minutes from downtown Columbus, you're a public golf course and you've been charging $45, $50, are you the endangered species? because of development, what we talked about, that are you the one ripe for picking for a developer to come in a 50 years? I'm not talking about this existential crisis in the next 5 years that all these developers are going to buy golf courses. But if you're near population centers where developers want to be, if you're going to put in hundreds of houses or whatever it might be, and you need 200 acres of land and you're zoned properly, my concern is that the public, of the bell curve, the middle class of golf, the public access, privately owned golf course is possibly the endangered species here, because as Joe Bettis has often said, the dirt is worth more than the grass. Does anybody sense that like I do? I feel like it's a tremor that I can feel, or a dog whistle, or something that I can see and feel. I don't really hear too many people talking about this long-term supply problem that we might run into. So do you guys feel that, sense that, or is that just Chicken Little thinking that, we could see a shrinking of that supply, which, when you put that up against it doesn't pencil out anymore to build a middle class public golf course right now. If you look at every golf course being built, they're very high end. So if it doesn't pencil out anymore, what's going to happen here on the supply side in the next 50 years?
You want me to go first, Jason? Well, one, I think it's, we can't be Kodak. We can't get to the point where we're not going to change the product. I think if that club, in the middle of that urban area that's expanding, still sticks to the same business plan that they've always had, and not understanding that literally the people around that course are changing, and maybe they're all going out to the suburbs. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to have a time solution for them so they can play during their lunch hour, or if they get off of work, they could play? I mean, is it an opportunity to invite your family into the city to have dinner and play at a screen golf deal, right? Or Top Trace or something like that. So I am concerned about that if we don't see that it's changing around you. At Augusta Ranch, there was a bunch of desert around me. The GM Proving Grounds is over there. There was nothing going on. Now there's all kinds of homes being built, and it's young families. Am I going to identify myself as a golf course for retirees because I'm a par 61? Now, certainly a lot of people are retiring, but the baby boomers, we're getting to the end of that right now. So if I'm still going to direct myself that I have to attract somebody over the age of 70 and I have senior rates to do it, then I am a dinosaur and I'm going to lose, and I'm going to be plowed under and be a bunch of apartments. I have to think differently. These single families are around me. What can I do? That's why we built Top Tracer, to attract them in and show them that golf is cool. So yeah, I think I'm not that worried about it, but I am worried for the poor operators out there. The operators who aren't watching this podcast, they're not members of the NGCOA. They don't have a PGA golf professional working for them because they've commoditized their own product because they're happy they're making more profit than they ever have. That is not the solution. Reinventing yourself within the 85 acres that you have is always going to be important, whether you're a software company, whether you're an association, or whether you're a golf course owner. I think we have to keep looking to the future of who's our next customer, because it's not the baby boomer. We're towards the end of that, Jay. And so, yes, we keep thinking the old way. Those golf courses that got plowed under, they'll continue to get plowed under. Because right now, this sugar high scares the heck out of me. Everybody's feeling pretty good because they're high on sugar and caffeine. Woo-hoo, COVID's great. It helped our business. It's coming down. It's okay, not a lot. But how are we going to retain these customers and reinvent ourselves to attract the new ones? That's the key. Jason,
you're in the Detroit area, so I don't know if that would be labeled as one of these secondary cities in this sense, a million or under. It probably is. But do you sense what I'm talking about? And I want to clarify, Don. On one hand, I don't want to characterize as a losing story when it gets plowed under, because to that family, it might have been their winning story. So it's like a lot of golf courses closed, and I feel like Black Cloud, they couldn't survive. But if they cashed out for 10x on the value, it's like that's kind of the American dream for a lot of people. Is like the golf might have lost, but the owner, operators, and the family may have won, right, in that sense. And so it depends. It depends on what's happening here. But Jason, in the Detroit area, do you sense what the supply could be like in the next 50 years in golf?
I'm pretty much in Detroit, right? I'm a mile outside of the city, and so the population here is booming, and their home values are rising because everybody's moving to the city. So from a golf course perspective, for us, we're seeing more players, more rounds, and that's a good thing, right? But we've lost 2,000 golf courses in the last 20 years, and when we look at how many golf courses have shut down in North America, it's been mostly the golf courses that were unprofitable, right? And so what you have left is you have 15,000 golf courses that, at least in today's environment, are viable to survive as golf courses. And we're really fortunate, a good portion of people who own golf courses, run golf courses, control golf courses, a lot of member-owned clubs too, do it because they love, golf. They love it as a golf course, and not because it's the most profitable use of the land even today. So, I don't think we're going to see a ton of golf courses shutting down just because, there's demand from developers. I think we'll see golf courses shutting down if we see a decrease in golfers and, it's not profitable to run a golf course.
No, good commentary. I want to switch the conversation to technology because I think the three of us could probably talk all day about all kinds of golf issues. But a couple of things I want to get to in particular, and one of them is just kind of an acute issue right now that Jason, you've been involved in, and then Don, be thinking about yours, because I know you've got a couple questions about data and what have you. So I'll let you follow up this one. But I don't think we talked on the last show about this Google GolfNow partnership that surprised the industry a few weeks back, where golf courses and their Google business profiles, as they call them. By the way, they changed the name of their Google local listings. Google this, they now called their Google business profile is what it's called. And on there, all of a sudden, one day appeared this book online bar or button that took up a great deal of real estate there. I mean, that's a lot of real estate when it comes to Google's their limited real estate. And what the partnership did was, for anybody on GolfNow, you now have at that time a book online button that appeared, and you didn't even know it was coming. So from a communication standpoint, there I've got issues with that, but it leads golfers to the GolfNow listing, not the golf course's website, which obviously our antennas and radars and everything started going off like crazy. For a lot of reasons. But then what we did is we quickly galvanized the club caddies of the world, you and a lot of your competitors, into a call with Google. And what we quickly realized was they want to work with our industry. In fact, what they told us was someone internally had figured out that golf is hot right now. It was like, oh, we're missing the boat on golf. Well, hell yeah, you are. And so they basically created this, which is not about tee times per se. It's about, if you're searching for golf courses in the Atlanta area, then you can find, you'll have some now that have this book online button. So you can't book a tee time on Google per se, but you can now find those where you can go and book online from there. Well, so what I wanted to hand it over to you, Jason, maybe, and tell the audience, so you can tell the second half of the story. Once we were like, what the hell's going on here? Then we quickly realized, wait a second, Google wants to work with us. And but at the same time, we know that golf courses, most of them would highly prefer a link to go to their site, not to a third party, which surprised them. Which, as a reminder, research we did about 6 years ago showed that over 70% of golf courses felt that they were in competition with their own third parties, or at least to some degree. And, so it's like, well, why would you want to have a link to your competition in this sense, right? So I'm going to give you the baton and tell maybe everybody what you learned from your side and what you're still learning, because you're in touch with Google on trying to make these things happen.
Yeah, sure. And maybe if I could just a little bit and kind of echo some of the things that you said, explain why this matters for operators and why this is a big deal. So as operators, it's really important for us to think about our customer's journey. What's it like for a golfer to book a tee time at a golf course? And if you just put yourself in your customer's shoes, most of your golfers are going to pull out their cell phone. They're going to search for your golf course, usually on Google. And then Google historically has either given them your phone number and they call your shop, or historically Google would show your booking engine as the top search result, and golfers would then go to your website, book a tee time, and that's good, right? That's what we want to happen. And then one day in July, golfers across the country woke up, and if you were a GolfNow customer, and I mean a golf course client customer of GolfNow's, if golfers searched for your golf course, they saw the Book Now button, just as Jay had shown, that redirected them to GolfNow. And so the problem there is that GolfNow promotes your hot deals, right? Which is less revenue for you. Obviously, you're not gaining revenue from those. They also then, more importantly, they promote your competitors' hot deals, and that creates competitive displacement because now golfers aren't playing your course at all, and they're becoming your competitor's customer, right? And then third, and I think something that's really important, is that GolfNow isn't sharing that customer's data with you because it doesn't flow into your GMS system. Instead, you get something like a no reply at golfnow.com with a bunch of random numbers. But now that customer is no longer your customer, they're GolfNow's customer, right? So that's why you don't want golfers to search for your golf course and then go to GolfNow, right? So that's a little bit of the context. And, I really appreciate, Jay, you reaching out and saying, how can we tackle this problem? Because it's a big problem for golf course operators. So I was really pleased. I really don't look at it as just all of our peers. I mean, they're more peers than competitors because everybody in the space got into it for a reason. It's not because it's the best place to make money. It's because we care about the industry. We want to help golf course operators, right? And so all of the GMS providers connected with Google, and Google basically explained, as Jay had said, look, there's a path. If you want to put your golf course inventory here, it's not very difficult to do. We'll give you the technology to do it. And you can make this now possible for your golf courses that are using your software to book directly on that golf course website's booking engine, which of course means no hot deals, no competitive displacement of your competitors' hot deals, and more. And also, which is going to become increasingly important in the future, all of that customer's data is flowing directly into your database, right? So it's really a big win for the industry. I expect that these integrations will all be kind of completed within the next 60 days, not just in Club Caddy, but with most of the GMS systems out there. We'll all have to go through kind of like a Google testing and verification process, but by the end of the year, golf courses should be able to directly enable their golfers to book on Google just from a switch in their GMS system, which is really a big win for the industry.
And from what I understand, like they've been doing this in other verticals besides golf, and this is not costing golf courses anything because you're thinking, all right, this is not an ad play, this is not a sponsorship play or anything like that. They just want to create a pathway to book, and that's great. Now, let me ask you about this. And both of you have had dealings with 800-pound gorillas in our industry on many things, right? And I'll say, like, I approached Google as maybe 5 years ago, actually pre-COVID, about like, hey, should we start building a bridge between Google and golf and booking golf? And because at the time, certainly this was after the GolfNow acquisition of EasyLinks, when number one bought number two and there was no number three, and my issues with antitrust and all of those things, I thought, what's the way to hedge this is to have another competitor, to have another 800-pound gorilla, I guess, in the mix, right? And Google, in my mind, was the only possibility to be an 800-pound or an 8,000-pound gorilla, right? So I started talking with them. COVID happened, restarted conversations after we all kind of got settled, what have you, and then I stopped. About a year ago, I was going down the pathway trying to figure out how can we build a connection. And I stopped because I started thinking about, 10, 20 years from now, looking back, do I want to be known as having a hand in bringing the 8,000-pound gorilla into golf in the tee time space? Are they going to be are they going to be a disintermediary at some point and all this? And I started thinking about all those suppliers 15, 20 years ago, that when they finally got on the shelves of Walmart, we made it because our product is on Walmart. But it's like, well, wait a second. Are they going to eat your lunch? And are your margins going to be so bad? Are you going to go out of business in 3 years because you're at Walmart? Like, be careful what you wish for is what entered my head. And so I kind of stopped, right? And then this happened. Okay. So I want you to be thinking, what I want to hear your thoughts are, is because where we see this going is, and by the way, some of us are under NDA with Google about what could be coming next, but we haven't talked about what's coming next yet. So I feel at liberty I can talk about this because we haven't had any discussions about it. But you can see where golfers are going to be able to search for tee times in Google. That you can see that coming, right? And building a bridge with all the GMS companies so that the availability is there, and you can maybe search by a couple of filters, just like you can book a hotel room or book an airline, right? You still go to the supplier. Google, you can do the searching, you still go to the supplier to book it, but I have a feeling that's where Google's going to be playing soon. And I'm going to ask you a pretty big question. Is this good or bad for golf?
It's good.
You're asking me?
Either one of you.
You go
I'll
first,
go after
Don.
Jason.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Who's going? All right. I'm going to go. I'm going because I have, it's funny when you were just talking, Jay. I felt like, when Taylor threw that ad up there, I felt like, okay, I'm Googling to play golf, or maybe I'm Googling to have a date night with my wife. And then when I click on it, it goes to Ashley Madison. Really? I mean, I'm trying to have a monogamous relationship. And then when I click on to book the course that I want, it goes to Ashley Madison that shows me all the other golf courses that I could cheat on my golf course with. How is that right? That is disintermediation. This is terrible. You don't get any of the data. I mean, to answer your question, I think that one, you better have a handle with your software company so you can identify at-risk members who are the ones that are booking through a third party that used to book directly with you. Have to figure that out, whether it's by rate, by some API. I don't know what you're going to do, Jason. You probably already have this dialed, dude, because you guys are super smart. But you have to know your at-risk members. You have to know if one of your customers is cheating on you, because maybe you've got to change the way in which you're presenting your business. Now, as far as aggregation, that's not going away, right? I mean, if Google's going to do this, I want them to. People are searching, and they don't even know what to search for. If they search for spend time with my family, I would love if Google understood through some algorithm that, hey, why don't we show them a little family clinic that's going on at Augusta Ranch? If they can help me with the little teeny budget that I have for marketing, somehow just organically, not doing the SEO stuff, just through SEM, through SEO stuff, not through SEM, because I can't afford the SEM, right? That marketing stuff. But if I'm organically getting those customers, I'm not going to fight Google. I think it's my job is to have a compelling story about why they want to play my golf course than somebody down the street for the new golfers. Because at the end of the day, if you're already golfing, you're going to probably come directly to me. When I got kicked off of GolfNow kicked me off, stole my database, the whole deal, right? Years ago. A lot of people came in my shop and said, how come you're not on GolfNow anymore? And I'm like, you're here. Did I need them? I'm pretty sure I don't. Haven't been on GolfNow for a decade. Killing it. So I think Google is different than aggregation that's got barter that's trying to make my golfer cheat on me. I'm just showing everybody how good golf can be. So I think Google can be a tremendous partner with us. Yes, when barter was created, it seemed pretty innocuous. We didn't have any money. We needed to afford software. So we bartered tea time 7 minutes before twilight so that we could pay for it. That turned out to be the devil. But I'm not worried about Google being the devil. They could be Costco, but as long as my product's good, I think I'll be all right.
Well, thanks for the spicy analogy. Okay, Jason. Jason, what do you think?
The difference is the business model, right? So GolfNow makes money either by golf courses surrendering inventory and then reselling that inventory to consumers, or else through booking fees that are charged to consumers. And so necessarily golf course operators or golfers themselves have to pay GolfNow. Google, on the other hand, and not that there couldn't be other issues and upshots that arise out of this, but they make money primarily from generating ads or serving ads. So when you search for golf, and that's their goal, is to keep people coming to their engine and to make it as consumer friendly as possible so that Google is the search engine of choice for golfers and for every consumer, right? They might be showing them ads to grab Red Robin at the end of their round or something like that, but that's not a threat to me. I mean, maybe it is if I want them to have dinner there, and I'm not saying there aren't upshots, but I just don't think it's the same type of relationship that's zero sum like it is with GolfNow, where it either comes out of our pocket and it goes to them, or it comes out of the golfer's pocket and goes to them. With Google, they have a different revenue model. They make money in a different way. And so I think this is really good for the industry because it doesn't come out of the expense of golf course operators. And at least to my understanding to date, there's no fee that Google's charging any golf course or Club Caddy or any other GMS provider to do this integration. So I think it's really good for operators.
What I don't know is the economics of the booking engines that they've created for airlines and hotels, and what ultimately a hotel might be paying if someone goes to Google first, they do their search, and then they click off onto Expedia to finish the booking, or direct to the hotel. That's an option too. And that booking happens. How much is it costing them to maybe Google? I know they make their money on ads for sure. That's the lion's share. But is there an economic model that's happening there? I'm just not aware. I'm not schooled on this quite yet. Like, how much is a hotel paying when they sell that $179 a night room that it originated in the Google search, to find that hotel room. Just don't know. I'm not sure if you're aware about but we need to bring that conversation to the table, because that might cost golf course. That's where I'm talking about. All this exposure is great, but all of a sudden, if you're paying for, a good amount of money for the clicks and the reservations that come through Google, the search, is it worth it? What does that cost? All of those things right now, it's the money that a golf course is spending through Google is through what Don talked about, search engine marketing, if you want to be the advertiser. So I get that. But it's a little bit of Wild West for me right now, but I think we need to educate, because it's coming. There's no question that it's coming. And you're right. It's a different animal than GolfNow is. The business model is different. And it's one of those things where I preach all the time. Golf needs to fish where the fish are, right? And this is where the fish are. And we have not been fishing, except for where everybody else is doing, and that's just organic placement and some search engine marketing. So it's coming, and I'm excited about it, because I'm thinking, this could be very fruitful for the industry. And imagine all the advertising we can do, Don, about getting golf, getting people into golf that are seeing these, that are now using Google as a place to start searching for tee times, right? It's going to be interesting to see where this goes. We don't have a lot of time. Hi, Don.
No, I'll say one quick thing, little 30 seconds. Is just that, we do have to get back into what are the meta tags on our website. I mean, what I do appreciate with Google is they're always going to have the SEM stuff, but usually there's one or two entries above the fold, right? Above before you scroll. I appreciate they do that. They could load up the whole first page with SEM stuff, and the real true SEO stuff that is really organically should be pulled from that search that person did is coming up. But maybe out there, if you're looking at your websites, Google yourself and find out where do you land. Maybe with some simple meta tag changes, you could be higher up on the organic side if you can't afford the SEM side.
So there are a couple topics I wanted to close with. One, Don, I know you and I were chatting about this concept of just simply protecting the data of your golfers, your customers, and so forth. And I'll tee up the question by asking maybe Jason this. So if a golf course is using a cloud-based system like yours, and they're paying you a monthly fee for your service, your security, and so forth, and somehow it gets hacked, and ultimately, who's liable here? Who's responsible? Is it the golf course, or is it the GMS company that was entrusted with the data and the security? And what happens then if there is a hack, there is a breach, and Don's customers' data has been stolen and is now being used by some nefarious way? So obviously I'm underscoring the importance of security here. I know, Don, that was your issue, one of your issues here, but I want to find out why, Don, do you want to bring this up now? What about what's happening in your world, in your PGA world, or anything that made you want to say, we got to talk about this right now? So Jason, let's start with you by saying who's liable here? And then Don, maybe kind of what's on your mind about it?
Yeah, so look, every situation would be different. And to give you a couple of examples, let's say that a golf course operator themselves or one of their staff, uploaded some type of nefarious app or some type of some software into their database that, allowed them to extract all the data out of the database. That would be a situation where, likely the golf course themselves would probably be responsible. But almost every other circumstance, the GMS provider should be responsible. Every GMS provider should have a cybersecurity insurance policy to protect their customers in that situation. And the GMS providers should be responsible for, making sure that their security practices are consistent with market practice, that you have things like endpoint protection. Like we were impacted by the cyber. What's funny is we were all a couple of weeks ago, CrowdStrike went down, right? And everybody heard about it with the industry. And it was so funny because I saw some GMS providers that were, promoting yeah, we didn't go down. Well, that means you weren't using the industry's best endpoint protection software to detect viruses, right? It's expensive software that all of the major companies use. We did too. We were down from a half hour from it, and it was a pain in the butt. But you have to have that type of protection in place to protect your clients. And if you don't, then your clients are at real risk of jeopardy of potentially customers' data being put on the dark web, right? Or being manipulated and taken advantage of or exploited later on. And so, yeah, it really should be the GMS providers that are responsible. That should be covered in your terms and conditions. And, with the rare exceptions of if your staff intentionally do something, to put you in jeopardy.
Don, why is this on your mind, dude?
Well, because data is the key, right? I want to keep this monogamous relationship with my customers, and whether that's stolen through nefarious ways, through the dark web, a phishing scam, whatever's going on, I think I have to be worried about that. I know golf course owners, they got cameras all over their facilities to watch their staff and watch customers if somebody breaks into a car in the parking lot, but they don't ask that question to their point of sale club caddy and say, what are you doing to protect me on this side? Because it is a legal liability. And with all of this credit card information going into the cloud somewhere, with all of these reoccurring, these monthly systems that we're doing now, like whether that's teaching, whether it's an annual pass that you're doing where you're charging the same credit cards every month. I mean, where are those? For Augusta Ranch, 100 credit card numbers stored. I mean, Gideon, you at the last TechCon made a good, compelling, story of like, listen, if they want you, they're going to get you. But certainly, lock your doors. If locks are just to protect you against honest people, well, at least lock it. You're right. If you're a big company, you better be ready because the black hat hackers are going to get you. But I think if you're just asking good questions to make sure, to me, it's like when I lived in San Diego and I was in a big apartment complex, you weren't going to get rid of the ants. You just wanted to make sure the ants found all the food in the apartment next to you. And so that's all I'm saying is do the best you can. So at least they come, somebody sitting in your parking lot on your unprotected Wi-Fi system starts poking and prodding because they took a class and they're 14 years old and they want to see if they can hack into you just for fun. And then maybe steal 100 credit card numbers and put them on the dark web. That's not possible. It's absolutely possible. And we're providing free Wi-Fi all over the place. So I'm just saying, ham up some of that stuff and just be a good operator, because if you lose that trust with your customers, your database, you're starting from scratch again. That would be horrible.
I don't want to play the devil's advocate here, but I'm gonna play out a role here for a moment. Okay, so I feel like on these data security issues, that there's so much complacency. And let me tell you why I think there's complacency, or at least maybe at one angle at this. And you tell me if I'm wrong. Because one, there aren't any horror stories out there about golfers and golf courses, data security. Oh my God, I lost my home and my family because of this. It's like, when you think of why should someone care, you think about what happens when it breaks. And when you think like there just aren't too many horror stories, and the horror stories would cause people to be, oh shit, I better lock down my stuff here, right? And I better make sure that my business I give my credit card to, that they're doing all these things. But most consumers they're not demanding that of their businesses, right? And the businesses, if the consumer's not demanding it of the businesses, then the businesses are like, okay, you know what, maybe something will happen, probably not to me. And here's why. Maybe when it comes to credit card information, if someone gets it, if some nefarious person gets my credit card information, credit card companies are really good about notifying you, locking it down, changing stuff. We detect fraudulent activity. We're going to lock this down and we're going to get you a new card. No worries. The consumer feels kind of protected there. Same thing with the emails. Okay, if some guy in Nigeria gets my email from Augusta Ranch and they're sending me things, I mean, like junk. Google's got a great junk filter. It's like, so, and I'm not giving you my banking routing number where they can go in and take money out, right? I haven't done that. Now that to me is where some real security needs to happen. If I'm giving you money where the bank's not going to may not protect me against someone that just took $10,000 out of my bank account. So I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit here. Tell me why I should care, because if there just aren't any horror stories out there about this stuff, and I'll go to you, Jason, as the tech guy that has to pay the bills on these security things and all that. Why is this important?
Because it just takes one customer, right? The one customer who wants to be the pain in your ass, and who either sues you or at worst, it certifies a class and then they sue you. It's not that you're not liable. It's just that to your point, nobody's lives are being ruined. So what's the real damage? And there is damage, right? It's a pain in the butt if somebody gets access to your payment information, or worse, your social security information, and clones your identity, or that does make life very difficult for people, and you just don't want to be on the wrong side of that equation. At some point, it's going to happen to somebody, and some golf course is going to get sued for it, and then we as an industry are going to wake up to it. That it hasn't happened yet, though, is not the right way to approach it.
Okay, so I got Taylor and Harry listening here. What I want you guys to start digging on is stories of victims of fraud and security, and so from the golf industry, not just any industry. Like what? Let's put feelers out there. Who And I know the software companies are going to be a little gun shy to say, oh, well, it happened on my watch, so let me share with you the story about one of my golf courses. They're not going to be proud about this, right? So I don't think we can go to the software companies to say, give me your horror stories of data breaches and fraudulent activity, because they're going to appear weak, or like we didn't do our job. So, but I want to get stories out there. That's the point here, is like to say, hey, it only happens to one guy. Well, who is that one guy? Let's tell those stories if they've happened in the golf industry. So we know that this actually has happened and it can happen. It's not just, fiction out there, right? Don, I see you smiling.
Yeah, you might have to pixelate their faces and change their voice, right? Because they're not going to want to know. Let's be honest. When we were checking into the hotel at TechCon last year, they were at the end of a major problem with MGM Resorts. Google that story. You're not going to find it. Why? They didn't steal any credit cards that I know of, but they disrupted their entire reservation system. And MGM Resorts, it wasn't even a big story. I mean, you try not to get into conspiracy theories, but why? I mean, MGM didn't want everybody to know that every one of their hotels was affected by this ransomware. And by the way, I'll be the first one to raise my hand. About 9 years ago, before I was actively using Dropbox, or I use Dropbox. Before I was doing that, I had ransomware hit me, and it corrupted all of my Word and Excel files. Every one of my flyers, every one of my spreadsheets, I could no longer open them. I didn't pay the ransomware because I've got no money. I just had to recreate all of that stuff, but it happened. And so I went into a cloud-based thing so that if it happens to me now, I can just go one day in the past on Dropbox and I got all my stuff back. But why would it happen? A little Augusta ransomware would hit me. It was some phishing scam, and you just got all these young kids now that can Google how to do this and disrupt your business. But dude, no one goes on television and wants to talk about when fraud hits them, right? Because they're embarrassed that they didn't do the things they were supposed to do. That's why those Ponzi schemes exist for a long time, is because they don't want to be the one to say, yeah, that was my life savings. So I don't know. You Google it up. I don't know how many stories you're going to find. But I think if you talk to every operator, if they've experienced a little bit of this, you might have to pixelate their face. I think they're going to go, yeah, I had a little taste of it, and it did not taste good.
Yeah. I think we have to shine some light on these stories, even if they're minor. And I know we've got some comments like it's happening in every other industry and so forth. And that's all good and important, but people will not get they won't have emotional response to something that's happened in, the salon business. It's like, oh gosh, that sucks. Yeah. Let me get back to my customers. It's like, what about the golf? They want to know what's happened to a Don Ray, and it's almost like, back in the ETS scandal, that all these golf courses that were victims of this theft through the credit card processing and all that, like that caused people to say, holy crap, this is happening in our industry. I got to look at my, it woke people up to what, could happen in these issues. I want to find those stories in these other places. And so Jason and Don, I got you on notice to help me find those stories so we can, talk about them here. But, and I know we teased our audience today with the topic of artificial intelligence, but I'm going to put a pin in this because I want to save it for another show. And that's because I want to bring Jason back to talk about AI and what's happening in our space now. But I also want to bring in some other voices on what's happening on AI. Let's have kind of an outside golf industry, inside golf industry conversation at this table and in this show. So kind of stay tuned, listeners and watchers, on the AI topic. But we've gone over our hour together. And Jason, we got to have you back on more as a guest for sure, because you have your foot on multiple planets within our solar system. And I think that creates for a rich conversation. So we appreciate you being here. And stay tuned for another invitation. Don Ray, any closing words for our August episode here?
No, I just read Harvey's clip. He said he found the MGM hack. I just didn't see it on mainstream media. You know what I mean? But good. That's why I like Harvey. He's always going to research, man. I love that, man. Every article he writes, I always read it. I might not agree with it all the time, but I really like that we got a guy like him diving into our industry. So, yeah, Google away. Be as smart as you can as an operator. And the way to be the smartest operator is to watch our podcast, powered by Club Caddy.
Well, appreciate both of you as our guests, and hopefully the audience picked up some kernels today. We had some really great ideas, I think, and there's some good, fruitful discussion. So to that, everybody, we will see you in September for the next episode of Golf Business Live. Thanks, guys, for being with us.